This is the fourth time that the Colombian government and the FARC, a guerrilla group created in Colombia in 1964, are trying to bring to an end the armed conflict in Colombia. The previous three attempts failed for different reasons. Mainly, the international context wasn't the right context. Secondly, there was not willingness within the parties to really bring to an end the armed conflict. And thirdly, I do believe that probably civil society was still trapped in the dynamics of different actors of the conflict because of ideological positions they took within. In the last 3 years, the parties have been negotiating for the fourth time. The geopolitical context is in favor. Civil society has been campaigning for peace for a long time. And I think internal factors have meant that for both the government and the FARC, there is a need to bring to an end the armed conflict. So what the parties have done is to put at the center of the peace process the victims' rights and to bring them to participate directly in the negotiations. So that's the first way how the process is trying to get over the undemocratic approach that usually peace processes have. But the second one has to do with the parties deciding to create a gender subcommission, to have a look at all the agreements they have reached so far and attune them with a gender perspective. So I do believe that if you take into account those two developments, what the peace process in Colombia now is an incredible innovation compared with other peace processes in the world. From the very beginning of the negotiation, the parties decided to start listening to the demands of civil society, and in order to do that, they have done, I would say, mainly two things. The first thing is that they set up a website that is www.mesadeconversaciones.com, in which any person in Colombia can upload a proposal for any of the points of the agenda. They have a team of people dedicated to reading those proposals. As far as I understand, in the first 3 years of the negotiations, they have received more than 6,000 proposals by civil society organizations. That's the first thing. But the second, and I would believe most important one, is that they started doing forums for peace in Colombia. This is a particular effort because in order to be very inclusive and bring different civil society organizations from across the country, they charge the United Nations and the National University of Colombia to organize these national forums. I'm part of Rodeemos el Diálogo, that in English means something like let's surround the dialogue, let's embrace the dialogue. The organization or the network is really a transnational network, and it was created back in 2012 in London. And it was created with one very clear objective, and it was just to offer moral support to the negotiators by saying we support the peace process. What we decided to do in London was to start a series of private dialogues amongst different sectors of Colombian society who would never sit together to have this discussion about peace. We discovered that by discussing the complexities of the negotiation, people would start rebuilding trust amongst each other. And after doing this for about 6 months or a year, we felt that we needed to try to do this in Colombia. So we went back to Colombia, some of us, and started in Colombia having these efforts. And now we have done over 70 breakfasts of peace, bringing together middle classes, Colombians who go to the university or who are young professionals, and we have sat with them and start sharing the developments in the peace process in Havana that are accessible to anyone because they are uploaded on the internet on the same website that I mentioned before. And what this has created is a network of people. We created something that we have called non-workshops for peace. We believe that they are not workshops in the traditional sense because they are much more participatory. They do not aim just to teach people about the developments in Havana, but what we are trying to do in these spaces of dialogue is to show them that the peace process needs to be connected with their everyday life. So Rodeemos el Diálogo is not necessarily doing what other organizations do, that is try to influence the peace process, to put important topics on the agenda of the negotiations. On the contrary, we believe that that's the work that some other civil society organizations need to do. That's the work of the negotiators. What we are trying to do is to find a way of translating what's going on in Havana to the everyday life of people on the ground, because they are the ones who at the end will have to reconcile, and we believe that that's our contribution to peace in Colombia.